Hello, African sports fanatics. Welcome to another episode of the Safari Soccer Show. I'm your host, Yvonne Etta. Today, we are still in South Africa. My last guest was from South Africa. Today, also, a Ugandan playing in the South African League. Maybe just introduce yourself to my viewers and take us through your football journey, Dennis.
Well, I'm called by the names of Dennis Masinde Onyango, goalkeeper for Uganda Cranes and Mamelodi Sundowns in South Africa.
Okay.
Of course, my football journey has not been easy, and it has never been easy because to be successful in football, you must face all these challenges. And for me, I think these challenges made me strong, and they make me realize that nothing comes easy in life. And of course, playing amateur football in Uganda before moving down to Ethiopia and South Africa, it was in 2004 when I joined Sports Club Villa of Uganda from an amateur club called Nsambia FC, and I stayed at Sports Club Villa for two seasons, where I managed to win the Cecafa Club Championship in Mwanza without conceding a goal with Sports Club Villa. And it was amazing. A few people managed to see me. Scouts came through, and they really liked me. And that's where my journey started as a professional, because I got a few clubs from Tanzania. Of course, Tanzanian club is Yanga. Yanga actually signed me, but we came into a mutual agreement, and they released me to St. George of Ethiopia. When I left Sports Club Villa, I joined St. George of Ethiopia, the champions of Ethiopia. And I played for St. George one season before joining Supersport United of South Africa in 2006.
Okay.
And I played for Supersport United for 4 seasons. I won 3 league titles in a row. In those 4 years, I managed to win 3 league titles with Supersport. That was the ABSA Premiership. When it just came into South Africa, the ABSA Premiership. I won it 3 times with Supersport, and I was sold to Mpumalanga Black Aces. And unfortunately, I got relegated with Black Aces in that season when I was with them. And of course, as I said, every journey has challenges, and that's one of my challenges that I faced in football, being relegated with Mpumalanga Black Aces after winning 3 league titles with Supersport. But I kept believing, and I got a chance to be bought by Mamelodi Sundowns, where I am right now. And of course, again, it wasn't easy because I stayed 2 years without playing competitive football at Sundown, because the quality of the keepers that were there at the moment were really doing well, and it didn't give me a chance to play. But after going on loan to Bidvest Vets, Coach Pitso Mosimane, who's with, because he was the coach of Sundown by then. And yes, it's been looking good ever since I came back to Sundown. And of course, just to mention that it's Coach Pitso Mosimane also who scouted me when I was playing in the Cecafa tournament. And he brought me to Supersport United before he became the national team coach of South Africa. So yeah, it's been a long journey between me and Coach Pitso Mosimane. But yes, it hasn't been easy, but I'm sticking in there. I'm trying my best to do what I do best on the pitch.
Okay, great journey indeed. Now, before we start, I start asking questions about your career. Let me talk about your name, Onyango, because Onyango is a synonym name here in Kenya for people in the Luo community. Are you a Luo, or you are Ugandan actually, or from which community in Uganda?
Of course, a lot of people have been saying that I'm Kenyan.
Yeah.
Probably I do have the roots of being a Kenyan, because I come from the eastern part of Uganda,
Okay.
on the border of Uganda and Kenya.
Yeah.
So when I'm back home in Uganda, in my village, I do connect on the Kenyan internet, or the network connect. So I would say I'm probably half Kenyan and half Ugandan, but in Africa, we're all brothers and sisters. So it's just the boundaries that are trying to put us apart. But I would say probably I have Kenyan blood in me and Ugandan blood in me. So, yeah, I'm happy to be who I am right now. And of course, there's also a brother of mine who plays with me at Mamelodi Sundowns called Brian Onyango, who is Kenyan. So, yeah, so it looks good. It looks good.
Now, talking of Kenya, why are you nicknamed Onyiso after legendary Kenyan goalkeeper Francis Onyiso? Was he your mentor while growing up?
Well, not really, but it was a couple of friends who I used to play with when I was still in Uganda who nicknamed me Onyiso. Probably they saw something in me and they called me that, and I welcomed it. I loved it, and they told me it's a name from Kenya, and probably, as you say, the roots probably are from Kenya. So for me, my friends calling me Onyiso, it gave me hope, and it kept me believing and trying to do what I do best on the pitch, and that's being a goalkeeper.
Okay, let me be petty with this question because I maybe you didn't think if I can ask you this, but did you start your football career as a goalkeeper, or you were an infield player but later became a goalkeeper?
Well, to be honest, I started off as a goalkeeper, complete goalkeeper, as I was a very young man in primary school, because goalkeeping also paid for my tuition at school. So that shows that I was a goalkeeper ever since I was young. From primary 6 to 7, I was a goalkeeper. It took me to secondary school. I was also playing as a goalkeeper, and as I said, it was paying for my school fees. So yes, I did play up front a few times, but I started off as a goalkeeper. I just sneaked into the striking position for a couple of games, and I discovered that no, goalkeeping is my thing. I need to go back to where I belong, and I went back to goalkeeping.
Now, I follow you a lot on social media, but by going through your Instagram stories, it seems El Hadari is one of the African keepers you rank highly. Who do you consider the best keepers Africa has ever produced?
Well, I would like to say Al Hadri is one of the best, but also there are a lot of good goalkeepers that I've seen Africa has produced. Unfortunately for Al Hadri, he didn't manage to go play in Europe. But we have Vicente Nyamas, the Kamenis who have played in Spain. We have young Onana right now who's playing in Holland. There are a lot of goalkeepers who have done well, but for Al Hadri, I think he's been legendary for Egypt, playing a lot of international games and also winning a lot of trophies, AFCONs with Egypt. It's not easy to find a goalkeeper who was consistent as much as El Hadri. And for me, these are the people who inspire me. He played football, I think, until the age of 45, which is unbelievable. He was one of the oldest players at the World Cup. So I really cherish such moments because it shows that when you believe and stick to something, you will always achieve it. And he has done that. He has been a legendary goalkeeper for Egypt and a legendary footballer for the continent. So these are icons that we really look up to. And at my age, I mean, I'm 35, but I still believe I want also to make history like Al Hadri. And if you don't have things like that inspire you and make you a better player, I don't think you play that long in football. So you need to be inspired by such people, and you must respect and acknowledge that the work that they have done.
Great, being inspired by people. Now let's talk about Villa SC, the club that gave you your professional debut. It's a big club in the continent and regionally and in the country. What do you think about its current state and its performance?
Well, of course, Sports Club Villa is one of the biggest clubs in Uganda, and it was one of the biggest clubs on the continent in the years gone by. But I believe that it has gone down lately. I think the last 7 to 8 years, Sports Club Villa has gone down. But personally, I believe that the challenges they are facing are more related to administration, because if in football the administration is not well structured, you are bound to collapse. And that's what's happening with Sports Club Villa, because the administration that was leading the team a few years back when I was still with Sports Club Villa, they left, and the ones that took over did not look after the club very well, and hence the collapse of the mighty Sports Club Villa. And also looking at the way they lost the training ground. I mean, for a club like Sports Club Villa, they must have a base where you know that this is where Sports Club Villa is based. There's no offices, there's no clubhouse. So for a club that has been around for so many years and has played at the highest level of African football, I think it's a downfall for such a club. And you've seen such clubs, such so-called new clubs coming up and building such structures. They are growing bigger and bigger, more than Sports Club Villa. But for a household name like Sports Club Villa, I think they need to fix the administration part first, because if players are not well looked after, or if the administration part is not well organized, I don't think any club will get any results, because it's football is a mental sport. If you're mentally not stable, or if you're not focused well on the game, I don't think you can get the results. And the players look up to the administrators. If the administrators are not doing the job very well, or they're not raising the flag of the club where it's supposed to be, I don't think the players will also develop and give best performances. But we hope for the best in the future. And I've seen that they're trying to rebuild the club again. But first of all, they need to build the foundation of the club again, and also get the administration into the right channel. And people must sacrifice a little bit and get a little bit of sponsors to look after the club.
Okay, good organization, best organization of the league or of the club. Now, you played for St. George in Ethiopia before moving down south. What makes PSL one of the best managed leagues in Africa? Because even here in Kenya, we focus so much on in the South African league more than the Kenyan league. What do you think? What do you think?
Of course, as I said, in football, if the management is not organized or is not well equipped, it's easy for club or the league to collapse. And for me, I believe that the South African Premier League has been very much organized, and the administration is looking after the clubs and football in general, because this is business. Football is business. The moment we, as I'll say all African countries, realize that football is business, we will take players serious, because some people come into football just to take, not to give back into football. But in the PSL, most of the club owners, they look to develop the structure and develop players and clubs and make a legacy. And that's what I see in the PSL, because the league is well organized. They've got enough sponsors. I mean, if you don't look after the sponsors, they're going to run away. And clubs are trying their best to look after sponsors and get good results, because, as I said, football is business. So in business, you don't want to lose all the time. You want to make profits as well and sell players to Europe, or make yourself bigger as a company. And for me, I think the PSL has done that very well. They've marketed the league very well. I believe it's one of the top 3 or 4, 5 leagues in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the marketing part has been fantastic from the PSL. The organization, the board members, and the decision makings they are taking are spot on. So it helps the team or the league to develop as much as it can. And when something is wrong, they rectify it and they move on, because they know football is business, and that's what they're doing.
You have told me about development, and you also told me before that football is not a rosy ride. You featured for 4 clubs in PSL, 4 different clubs. Now you are a household name in PSL. What makes you resilient and consistent in a league where East Africans rarely stay, let alone signing for the clubs?
Of course, I've tried my best to stay at the highest level in the PSL, because I know why I'm here. I left Uganda because I know my struggles. I know why I came to South Africa. Of course, my first target was to try and work hard in the PSL and the PSL to be my stepping stone to the next level, and probably that would be playing in Europe. But unfortunately, it didn't happen for me. I had a few challenges, and probably goalkeepers find it very difficult to move from Africa to Europe. And I believe that sometimes we need to get the right people to try and manage players and try and get players to try to go and try in Europe and see how far they can go. But for me, I think that what kept me going is the self-belief and the people around me, because in football, sometimes you forget that we need to sacrifice a few things. You must move away from the other life that you want to enjoy to the football life. So for me, I moved up quicker because I knew that I cannot let my family down, the family that I left in Uganda. I had to stay in South Africa as long as I can to make them proud and to do my best, because as I was growing up, all I wanted is to make my name bigger. And that's what I've done. I think I've done my part. I've tried to make my name bigger. I've tried to challenge a few people, and I've gone that extra mile in trying to sacrifice for the game of football. And of course, the people that were around me also encouraged me, because I got the right people around me. I had to settle in with my family, my wife and kids, and I look to them and they give me the better picture of working hard, because if I don't get something for them, the next day I'm on the flight back to Uganda. So if I don't work hard, which means I'm letting them down and I'm letting my family back home down, because I need to be the breadwinner. I can't be a breadwinner when I'm also on other things. I can't be in both sides. So for me, it has been a little bit of hard work, self-belief, and having the right people around me to encourage me to do what I do best.
Talking of hard work and sacrifice, your understudy at Masandawana is Kennedy Mwene, an AFCON winning Zambian keeper. Is in his competition pushing you to be the best at your role?
Of course, Kennedy has been absolutely fantastic in my progress in football as a goalkeeper, because he's a fantastic human being, someone who really wishes the best for the next person. He has won it all. He has won the AFCON, Champions League, the leagues, everything. So for me, coming back to Sundown from the loan spell that I had with Bidvest Vets, I found Kennedy playing as the number one at Sundown, and he had just won the AFCON, he had just won the league with Sundown. So coming back to Sundown, I had to be a little bit down to earth and learn from him. And he welcomed me back. Of course, that's how human he is. He welcomed me back in the team, and it was more of competition, but brotherly competition, because if he doesn't wish me well, he might as well not wish himself well, because in football or in goalkeeping, it's all about brotherhood. If I'm playing, you must wish me well. If you're playing, I must wish you well. And that's how it has been between me and Kennedy all these years. And when I'm not feeling well, I speak to Kennedy and I tell him, look, I'm not feeling well. Can you jump in for this game? If the coach wants you to come and do the job, please do the job very well. And if I come back and the coach wants me to play, I will give my best. So it has been more of a very good relationship between me and Kennedy Mwine, because he's not selfish. He's someone who allows you to say what you want, and he absorbs the pressure and he works on. That's why he has been at the club for a very long time. He wouldn't have stayed at the club if he was selfish. So for me, I believe he's been very fantastic and professional. We've got a new breed of goalkeepers that are coming up. They are learning from him. I'm learning from him. They are learning from me. So it's more about the club than individual. So we work hand in hand to put the club where it's supposed to be. And that's very, very important in football, not to be selfish and try and help other players to develop, because we were also helped to develop to where we are. So why should we be selfish to other young goalkeepers or young players? So that's the role that Kennedy has been playing and trying to motivate me in every game I play, or when he plays, I have to support. So it's been fantastic with him, and I really envy him.
Let's talk about your success. In 2016 must have been the best year in your career. You won the CAF Champions League and played in the FIFA Club World Cup. What runs in your mind when you reflect on the year?
Of course, 2016. We'll say from 2015 because that's when I won the Nedbank Cup with Sundown after coming back from the loan spell. And of course, leading me into 2016 because the 2015 Nedbank Cup final was played in December. Was it in December? If I'm not mistaken, no, in May, somewhere there. Then we led into the new year with the Telecom knockout, then the Champions League. So for me, it was a very good year for me, 2015, 2016, because it's the same year that Uganda qualified for their first AFCON in 35 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I really, really worked hard with the team and playing in the Champions League, playing in the league, playing the Club World Cup with Sundown, and also playing the AFCON with Uganda. So for me, it was a huge year for me, and it did build up slowly and slowly for me to be who I am right now, because from then I became African, one of the best goalkeepers in Africa year after year. And it was more of a consistency thing because I had to stay on top of my game every time I'm on the pitch. And of course, playing in the Champions League gave me more confidence and more experience, because it's very tough to play in the Champions League. And for me, I believe that the experience I got from there, I carried it on to the PSL and also playing in the AFCON.
And in the same year, you won the best African best player of the year. How was the feeling?
Well, it was a great feeling coming up against Rainford Calabar, who was one of the best footballers on the continent. I mean, playing in the local Champions League and African Champions League by then, and Kama Billiard, who was with me at Sundown, scoring for us goals that took us to the Champions League final and winning it against Zamalek. Of course, with the other players like Klampo Kekana, who's my at Sundown. So for me, it was a great feeling. And of course, being, I'm thinking I'm the only goalkeeper who has won that accolade. And I was the last player to win it before it was removed. So it's a great feeling that I was one of the goalkeepers that won the African Player of the Year based in Africa. And I was the last goalkeeper or the player to win it.
Okay, and in the same year, the FIFA awarded a less celebrated young player, Uganda's Football Personality of the Year 2016. Were you shocked by it, and do you think you deserved
it? Of course, as I said, in football, anything is possible. You will never undermine your opponent. And for me, I believe that the way the award was structured, it was more motivated by, I think it was Airtel, the Airtel sponsors who chose to vote for the player via SMS. And I wasn't in Uganda, and I could not mobilize people to vote for me on with SMSs. And the boy was coming from a region where the people who loved him, he was a hero in their town. He brought their team to the Premier League, Onduparaka, and he was scoring the goals. And for me, I would not blame anyone that they did not vote for me. No, probably I would say the way they chose to do the awards, because you cannot say we're going to give the public to vote via SMS in such categories, because I'm playing outside the country and I'm not going to be around to mobilize people to vote for me. And he had people to mobilize for him. So, of course, that's the way they wanted everything to go, because at the awards, I wasn't even going to be there, and they want the player to be available for the award. So I wasn't angry at the boy, or I wasn't angry at the people who voted for him, because I had no capacity to mobilize people to vote for me via SMS. And for me, I think it was losing the smaller one to go win the bigger one, and that was the African Player of the Year.
No, great. I think, Dennis, you have won everything in the PSL. Would you mind, maybe making a more challenging, joining a more challenging league than the PSL?
Of course, I've won most of the trophies in the PSL, but I'm still hungry for more. I want to make history. I'm one of the 3 players who have won 6 league titles in the PSL, and I'm looking forward to the next one. That's the 7th one or 8th one. So yes, if I get the opportunity to go play overseas or in another challenging league, yes, why not? If the club allows me. But at the moment, I'm still happy with Sundown. The club president looks after us very well, and he's always welcome to players moving on to Europe. That's why you see the likes of Tau, who's playing for West Brom, moved on. And for me, I'm thinking at my age, probably, I don't know, but maybe in the Middle East. You never know, but I'm still happy and contracted to Sundown.
Okay, you mentioned Pitso as we started our interview. He was the GOAT of the PSL. He left Sundowns, and I think he was a father figure to you players. Do you think his exit affected you guys?
Of course, we all know that in football, players move on, coaches move on, club owners move on. And we knew at one stage the way Coach Pitso was performing with Sundown, he would move on and they would get probably a better club, like he got. Al Ahly is bigger in terms of also trophies and club of the century, one of the biggest clubs on the continent. And we knew that at one stage he would move on. We knew that his time probably was up at the club to try and get new challenges. And of course, it was painful for him to leave us because we had built something special between us, the players, and him. But it's part of life. We also had to move on and do the job as the new coaches wanted us to do. And we're doing it because we are top of the log right now. And we are hoping that things go well for us. And of course, we're hoping and we pray for Coach Pitso Mosimane, wherever he is, to do well. He won the Champions League, he won the Egyptian League, and he has gone to the Club World Cup. Who knows? He might be the coach to win the Club World Cup with Al Ahly. So we wish him all the best. We miss him, but football is a journey, and we all move on. And you never know, we might meet in the future or in the Champions League, because we are all in the Champions League. You never know, but it will be a very good encounter if we meet him.
Talking of football is a journey. You succeeded Geoffrey Massa as the Cranes captain, as the skipper. How is the responsibility? How do you handle the criticism of the national team, more so if you underperform and underachieve?
Of course, I learned from some of the best captains in Uganda, and of course at Sundown, because in leadership you need to be able to accept criticism, and you must be able to listen and learn from other people, because you can't be always right. And for me, having captains at Sundowns like Kekana, I had Surprise Moriri, Ezrom Nyandoro, and also coming to Uganda, the likes of Ibrahim Sekaja, who's a coach right now at Red Bull, New York Red Bull, and also Ande Mwesigwa, who was the captain, and then Geoffrey Massa, then I took over. I learned a lot of things. I mean, I was in the company of great leaders, and I got to know what people like and what they don't like, and how to treat people or treat players, because players are very fragile. If you choose to be on one side and do not look into their problems or their issues, which means you're gonna fail, because these are the players that have to play for you, and you must be in a good relationship with them. So I learned how to manage players, and also find a way of speaking to the management, because sometimes the management doesn't understand the players or the challenges of the players. So I must find a balance between being a player and being into management, and that's what has helped me very much as a captain of the national team. And of course, finding it difficult sometimes with the criticism, I have to understand that whenever I'm criticized, which means they've seen something wrong, I need to check my house whether it's clean. So it's okay to criticize me, as long as you don't disrespect me, I will accept it and do better in the next game. Because in life, it's all about learning and changing the way you've been doing things. So for me, I've tried to do that a couple of times that I'm being criticized. So it helps me to clean my house, and it helps me to develop as a person and as a player.
Talking of underperformance, in 2011, Kenya denied Cranes a chance to appear in the 2012 AFCON in Equatorial Guinea and Gabon. And I think Nambole Stadium literally cried. How was the feeling after the final whistle? Because Walusimbi told me he hates Harambee Stars up to date. How was the feeling?
Yeah, it was a very emotional day.
Yeah.
The entire country was really, really devastated by our results that we did not qualify in the hands of our neighbors who were Kenya, who were not chasing anything by then. I mean, but in football, as I said, in football, there are no favors.
Yeah.
Kenya was doing its part, and we had to do our part and win at home. But there was no guarantee that we must win, and Kenya was not going to just give it to us, because football is a game of fair play. We must be fair, and they must be fair. Of course, it was bad for the country that we did not qualify after all the efforts we had put in. And the entire country was waiting for that moment for the national team to qualify for their first AFCON after a very long time. And we actually failed to our neighbors who were Kenya. And I cried. I mean, I went up for the last corner and we did not go. I think the goalkeeper, I don't know, he was Origi, or I don't know who it was, but he was fantastic on the day. We missed a lot of chances, and that's when we knew that it's not going to happen. But of course, we do have no issues. We don't have any issues with Kenyans, because we are all neighbors, and football is a game of fair play. They cannot just throw the game to us because we are neighbors to them. So we got to understand it as time went by, and we moved on, and we worked harder and harder to try and bring the team to the AFCON. And I believe that we've done that as a nation, and we've learned from the previous experience. You learn the hard way, and we do not take any game for granted, because if we took the Kenyan game for granted, we didn't win. But now every team that comes to Kampala, we take them very serious, because they are here for a work. They're here to work, to do their job. So we must work a little bit hard and always win the game. So we learned from our mistakes, and we moved on, and we've done well in the previous few games at home.
Yeah, you learned from your mistakes, and then you guided Uganda Cranes to AFCON in 2017 after around 38 years. Since then, you've been consistently appearing in AFCON finals. What is the secret, and what has made Uganda a powerhouse in the Cecafa region?
As I said, that we learned from our previous mistakes. In football, if you don't learn, you don't develop, and that's what we've done. We've tried to learn the hard way. I think the biggest challenge that we have in let's say in East African football is the way we travel as national teams, the way we treat players when they come to the national team, because this is the national asset. So why should you disrespect the player and make him travel around the world for one game? Because our traveling is very bad as national team players. A player comes from Europe, but he takes 15 or 20 hours to arrive to his home country, whereas we can sacrifice and talk to governments and get proper airline tickets to cater for the players to come and have comfort and respect the nation. But sometimes our federations don't look into that. Some people want to eat and have money in their pocket rather than the players, because you're getting that money because of the players. The national team does well because you are looking after them very well. So these are the challenges that we face as countries in the East, because that's mostly in East Africa. We need more countries to go to the AFCON from the East. But if we do not face these challenges of accommodation for the players, flight tickets, flying to the game when you're playing away from home. Some countries, I've seen Kenya arriving on match day. I mean, unbelievable. How are you going to play when you're tired? It's, as I said, football is a mental game. If you're not mentally stable or mentally feeling well, you're not going to perform on the pitch. In one moment, you're going to lose concentration and concede a goal, and that's the goal that will be helping you to qualify. So if we do not also look into the finances of the players, because at the national team, we leave our clubs because we come to work. National team is still work. When I go back to my family, I must show that, hey, this is $1,000 that I got from the national team, and we move on. But if you do not look after such small issues, the training kit, the training ground, we're not developing, because we are in the 21st century, and some of us, the national teams, are relying on one training kit. I mean, I can't wash the same kit that I used yesterday and use it tomorrow. Some people say, yeah, maybe he's trying to behave like he's at his club where they have everything, but a club can't be bigger than the national team. So I must be treated the same way I come from the club. I must be treated the same. You can't bring Victor Wanyama from let's say Tottenham, and you want him to train on a pitch that is going to injure him. He's not going to give you anything, because his future is in England, there where they pay him monthly. So why do you want to kill his career at the national team for one game? And we can look after the infrastructures and move on and try and develop football. So the moment we look into such things, infrastructure, developing young players and trying to get proper equipment and respecting the players, I think we'll go far as East Africans, because we have the quality, but small things are letting us down.
Talking of going far as East Africans, let's talk of AFCON 2019. I think it's one of the best tournaments so far. Beating DR Congo and reaching the round of 16. Do you think you would have lifted the trophy?
We actually had a very good coach, as in Sebastian Desabre, who really got the best out of the players, because I still believe he's been one of the best coaches for Uganda Cranes, who really gave his best to the team to try and give him the best results. Of course, we've had other coaches like Micho. We had Bobby Williamson, who was very unlucky not to take the team to the AFCON.
Yeah.
But Micho didn't. I think Micho didn't have enough facilities from the federation. But also Sebastian Desabre had everything to take us all the way to the final. But unfortunately, we lost to the Indomitable Lions of Senegal. Of course, one would say we had issues of money in camp, and that's what we need to solve as Africans. Let us fix money issues before we go to tournaments. Why should you wait for players to fight over money on the tournament, whereas you had all the time to discuss money issues and give the players what they deserve? Because I believe that when you switch focus a little bit in football, you will always fail. So one moment in AFCON cost us the game, and that was the ball that we lost at the back, and Mane punished us. So small details are the ones that cost us games. So we believe that if we can fix such small details of money, accommodation, and respect between officials and players, we will go as far as we can. Because I've seen the same issues when our African brothers go to the World Cup. You find out that the team is fighting for money. I mean, a team like Cameroon cannot start fighting over money at the World Cup, but it starts in the administration. If the administration is not looking into the players' problems, you will always have challenges when you get to the big stage of the tournament. So we need to fix our offices, as I said in the beginning, that if the office is not fixed, you cannot get results on the pitch. But for us, I think we did well until the last game of the tournament, where we lost to Senegal and money issues came up. But I don't believe that money made us lose the game. But it's called soccer gods. When the soccer gods are not happy with you, because they were not happy with us, we had a strike before the tournament, before the game, and one moment decided the game.
Let's talk of Godfrey Walisindi. I couldn't end the show without asking about Godfrey Walisindi, because he talks highly of you, and I think he's one of your best friends. But then Walisindi retired from Cranes camp. And what words do you have for him? Maybe words of appreciation to tell him?
Well, Simbi's story is very sad because he's one of the boys that grew up from the ghettos, and he was very aggressive in terms of playing football. And you could see even when he plays, he gives his best because he knew football was the one that puts food on the table for him and his family. And for him playing at the AFCON, that same AFCON that we lost to Senegal, he had actually decided to retire from football completely because he left uh, Kaiser Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think 6 months in his contract.
Yeah.
He was tired of football. He had literally given up on football, but we had to speak to him and bring back his happiness or his love for football, because we knew how good he is, how he can help the team going forward to the AFCON, and he was part of the team that qualified for the AFCON. So why should we leave him behind when the big tournament that he fought for is here? So we spoke to him, we spoke to the coach, and he worked hard. You could see that he gave his all for the team, but unfortunately, after the tournament, he was unhappy with a few things from a few officials, and he's one guy who really decides when he makes up his mind, he's done with that situation. So he made up his mind, and he retired from the national team because I'm older than Simbi, but why should he retire before me? And it was sad for him to leave the team because he was one of the senior players in the team and one of the backbone, the core of the team. And you could see that the team struggled a little bit even when we resumed the qualifiers without him. But as I said, football is a journey. People move on, and he moved on, and we miss him, and we will always appreciate what he gave us.
Okay, Kenya is you are so vital in the region, and then again you are pulled together with Kenya in the same group for World Cup qualifiers. Do you think they will spoil the party again for you?
Of course, it's gonna be very interesting us playing Kenya again in the World Cup qualifier. But again, we have Rwanda also, our neighbors. Mm-hmm. So it's an East African thing, and we have who else? We have Mali, or I don't know who else is in the group, but one West African and 3 East Africans. I think it's gonna be interesting when we play Kenya, Rwanda. And it's going to be an East African derby, and I believe that the best team will win. But Kenya has been doing fantastic, even though they've struggled in the AFCON qualifiers. But you can't undermine Kenya because they've got the quality, they've got the players, and when you play your neighbors, it's always fire. So we expect fireworks between Uganda and Kenya, and the best team must win. I mean, we all looking at one goal, and that's to take at least one country from East Africa to the World Cup. I mean, we need to have one country at the World Cup from East Africa. So whoever goes through, I'm happy. It doesn't matter whether it's Uganda, Kenya, or Rwanda. Of course, the other country will also want to go to the World Cup because they are stronger, and it's a West African country. But we would also love to have an East African country at the World Cup.
Okay, and South Sudan surprised you in the AFCON qualifiers at a time when you are poised to qualify. Is the country becoming a giant player in the region? Because I remember we were supposed to do an interview after your game with South Sudan. But then things went south and we couldn't do the interview. What do you think about South Sudan?
Yeah, South Sudan is becoming a powerful country in the region, yeah, and of course on the continent, because they are investing into football, because football unites people, and there's nothing more that can unite a country like South Sudan than football, and they are doing that. They're bringing players from all over. I mean, all the players. Tito Okello, who scored against me in Kenya, is actually Ugandan, but he decided to play for South Sudan. So it shows that they are doing something right. And when a country is doing something right, soccer gods will always provide for them. We had all the chances to score against South Sudan in Kenya, but we couldn't score because the football gods or the soccer gods were not happy with us. They favored South Sudan, who really put in a lot of effort. The preparation for South Sudan before they played us was fantastic. They went to Cameroon and played 2 friendlies, and they drew. So they are becoming a superior country on the continent or in the region, because they are investing and they are giving players time to do what they love, and that's to play football. And they know football will unite their country and try and put a smile on people's faces. So they are building the facilities. They are trying to look after the national team. They are developing youngsters. I mean, it's not the first time South Sudan beats Uganda. They beat Uganda in the under-20s, I think the qualifiers of something in South Sudan, and they've got the height. So we shouldn't undermine them. They are coming out strong. And that's how a beautiful journey starts for them. I mean, they got their first win against Uganda, unbelievable, and no one expected it. But in football, you should never underestimate any team, because they are there for a reason. And the moment they entered the group stages, they knew their target and they knew that they can get something.
Okay, and what are your thoughts about Tito Okello? He's a Ugandan but opted to play for South Sudan.
Of course, Tito Okello has been in Uganda for a very long time. He even played for Vipers, one of the big clubs in Uganda, and he knew all the weaknesses of the Ugandan players, and he really wanted to prove a point to Ugandans that he should be part of the national team that has been called for Uganda, but he opted to play for South Sudan, and he did well. For me, I believe he's got a bright future. He's playing for Goma here, I believe, right now. And look, when someone does well in football, you must applaud. And for me, I think he's doing well. He's one of the leading strikers for South Sudan. And they have a reason why they chose him ahead of other players, because South Sudan has players in Europe. I was surprised they have players in Australia, everywhere. So they should keep doing what they do best. I'm hoping in a few years they will be at the AFCON, and that's how it happens when you put infrastructure and look after the players and put a lot of effort in football. It will always come out with the good results.
Okay, and any comment on the Prince of Uganda team that featured in the CHAN 2020?
Well, of course, I only saw one game. I couldn't access the last game against Morocco. I was in camp in Limpopo. Again, we were having a game, but there's a bright future with the boys. It's unfortunate that this is, I think, the 5th CHAN tournament that Uganda has played, and we haven't gone beyond the group stages. But I would say this, and some might say I'm wrong, but it turns out to be experience. You need a little bit of experience in such tournaments, because if you look at the team like Morocco, it has players that play all over the continent. They play for Raja Casablanca, they play for Wydad Casablanca, they play for Fuz Rabat. These players play on the continent. They know how to get results. And you play a team like Togo, which has aggressive players. I mean, all the players from West Africa, their target is to go play in Europe. And when they get an opportunity like that to be on TV, they give their best. And if players can change the mentality a little bit to try and sell themselves and play a little bit harder for the team and play a little bit harder in terms of working hard as a team, it would help them. But it was a very young squad. I think the oldest was 23 or 24. So, but we had a few two experienced players that only played 1 game or 2 games. So I think we've got a lot of work to do. This is the future of Ugandan football. So we must support them, not to demoralize them, and try and give them more game time, give them more challenges, let them play more football, and try and motivate them, because when they go back to Uganda and you start demoralizing them and calling them names, they're not going to give their best again. So we must support them. You never know. There is some of the players are going to be playing at the AFCON next year, probably next year. Some of them have to be playing at the AFCON. So you must believe in them and give them the confidence. Unfortunately, we conceded so many goals in the last game, but it's a learning curve. We need to learn from such mistakes. And unfortunately, we've had, I think, 4 or 5 coaches going to the CHAN tournament. So every CHAN tournament has a different coach, but I'm hoping that this time around we'll keep McKinstry around, because he's a young coach and he believes in young talent, and he will develop players to become better and better.
Now, Dennis, before we wind up our interview, there are allegations of a Ugandan sports journalist called Ronald Mugisha who was found engaging in a match fixing in Kenya. What is your take on such accusations and betting as a whole? Because there's also another Ugandan who was banned in Kenya by FIFA, I think George Mandela.
Well, I haven't read much about it, and because of my busy schedule,
Yeah,
I don't look into such issues that much because sometimes, we all love betting because it provides for a few people. I mean, people who don't play football and supporters, they do betting. I mean,
yeah,
they
yeah,
bet on Uganda winning, Uganda losing, but it's not nice. It's not advisable for an agent, a player, a
yeah,
coach, football administrator to get involved into match fixing allegations. It's very bad for football because it kills the players.
yeah.
Because every time you bring a player and is into such issues, it's gonna kill the team. So for me, it's not a nice thing. If he's been doing it, then it's wrong. He should come out clean and try and clear out football, because football and betting, they don't mix. I mean, we can do betting as supporters, but not into football. When I play football, I can't bet, which means I'm becoming a supporter. Let me do my football. Let me do the manager or journalist, but let's not bet in football just because we want extra cash. So it's not a nice thing if it's true that he did it, because he's part of administration. Of course, betting is there. Betting sponsors football. I mean, there's Betway, Bet Sports Pesa, because football is business.
Yeah.
But let us not get involved as sportsmen or administrators, because it kills the game.
Okay, maybe just a word of advice to your young players, upcoming young players. And before you give the young players a word of advice, I just want to apologize because I told you the interview won't take long, but then I have enjoyed the interview and we almost an hour here. So I apologize for any inconveniences because I know you are a busy person and I don't take it for granted you showing up to my show.
Well, it's okay for me to speak about football because football pays my bills, football look after my family. So for me to speak about football, it shows that I've been in this game for a very long time, and I appreciate it, because not a lot of people would give you their time to try and interview you. Some people bring it as politics, but as we've been speaking, for me, it's been absolutely football, and I love that, because when I speak about something, which means it will help another player develop, or it will help another team to develop. So for me, it's okay to stay for an hour. I can stay for 2 hours if it was a real big show that we need to go for 5 hours. That would speak football, but I'm happy, and thank you for the opportunity, because not a lot of people get such opportunities to talk about football. But of course, also speaking to the young ones out there who would love to play football. For me, it's just one thing: working hard, because talent enough can never, ever take you very far. Because you look at the best players that they say on the continent or in the world, they are not only relying on talent, they're also relying on hard work. They run hard, they do extra things. When you want to make it in life, you must take a risk. So they must take a risk. If you're dribbling, you dribble. You take a risk. You might dribble and win the ball and score. If you might dribble and they might take it and they score against you. So football is all about taking a risk, working hard, respect for each other, because you can never play alone. If you want to play alone, you go play boxing. Boxing, you are alone in the ring, and whatever happens, that's your fault. But if you want to be successful in football, you must be a team player. Work hard and try to believe in what the team is playing, because at the end of the day, they do not write that Onyango won the league. No, they say Onyango's team won the league. So it becomes a team effort. So they need to work hand in hand with the coaches, respect them, and always work hard, because you never know what tomorrow brings. You might be on top of the game today, and the next day you're not on top of the game. So you must always strive for the best. So for me, those are my few words, and thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully I'll meet you when I come to Kenya one day.
Thank Thank you very much, Denise. This is one of the best interviews I have had before, and I really enjoyed every part of it. To our viewers, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Safari Soccer. Follow us on all our social media handles at Safari Soccer Show. I wish you all the best in your football career, Dennis, and hope to meet you too when you come to Kenya.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. Have a blessed week.
Okay, you too.